Facebook and YouTube. Just look up WDXE.
Live on YouTube? Yeah, I didn't know you could be live.
But then it's live, and then it's
Gotcha.
it's live, and then it's on from now on. That's right, WDXE, and it is time for Stan Pierchoski and Bulletproof Estate Planning Hour. It's been 2 weeks.
Been 2 weeks. Good morning, Jim.
We had to do a recorded program last week.
We did.
You had some travels, but you are back.
Yes, I am back. I was in San Antonio, Texas. I had to leave Monday night and came back late Friday, so I wasn't here. It's too cumbersome to call in for an hour-long show, and I had something going on at the time. They're in the same time zone, so I was tied up from 8 to 9. But I was actually at a symposium. It's kind of like our continuing legal education. You know what I mean? And we had a symposium, and I was one of the players that, I run the Tennessee forum for the Tennessee estate planners.
Yes.
It's a once-a-month thing, and so I sort of had to be there. And it was a lot of classes, a lot of lectures. So it was very interesting. I was there for 4 days, which is I was ready to come home when it was time. The trip went very smooth and uneventful as far as traveling goes.
Good.
But it was good to go. They do it once a year, and I'll probably do it again next year. It's usually in the same time frame, the September time frame. So, but it was fun. But again, thank you for covering for me and playing every song. I don't know if it played one where I discussed my seminar, but my seminar coming up is tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. That's
tomorrow,
right.
September the 20th. Tomorrow, right here at the WLX radio station, back of the building. We call it Wills, Trusts, in the Nursing Home, and that's what we're going to talk about. So if you would like to come to that, it's kind of late to RSVP, but if you want to call the office and RSVP, that's great. If you need to just walk in, that's great too. We always have walk-ins.
Yeah.
And we always have last-minute cancellations. So it's really a loose process. It's just like trying to make sure, you got a nice place here with tables and chairs, so we want to make sure we get enough tables and chairs put up.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm going to do this time, I usually bring my TV. I got a big screen TV, but recently you folks have posted one on that wall.
Yeah.
It's about 10 feet behind where I usually am. So I think what we're going to do is just push those two tables there in the front up against the wall.
Yeah.
And then when we set some of the chairs up, the tables and chairs, just move them a little farther closer. Well, we'll put it all back when we're done, but and then I think I'm just going to tap into your TV over there or something.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. Make it nice.
Well, it makes it, because I got a pretty good crowd, so I think I'm going to bring a little PA system with a lapel mic.
What time does it begin?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Did I not say that? 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Wills, Trust, in the Nursing Home. We'll try to start as close to 10 as possible. Sometimes I'll delay just a little bit if I see some folks in the parking lot.
Trying to get settled.
Trying to get parked. But we try to keep it as timely as we can. So, it's a good hour and 10 minutes or so of a presentation. And then we have a question and answer session that I stick around for just as long as necessary. And those, you get some good questions in that. And a lot of people are not shy about asking their questions collectively.
Yeah.
And if you have a personal question or something, just hang out and catch me on the side and talk to me that way. I'll talk a little more privately. But one good thing about the collective questions are when somebody asks a question, there's always several others in the crowd that have the same question. And so,
absolutely.
So when you give the answer, you're answering it for a lot of people.
That's right.
So anyway, I look forward to it. We do them about once every other month. I'll talk about the next one here in coming Fridays, but the next one's somewhere around November the 22nd. But that one's up in Franklin.
Okay.
We got a new venue up there. It's a library. It's a pretty nice place, but it's not the same place we usually do it. They kind of went out of business, but at the library up there. And I'll talk about that more as we get past this one, and then that's coming up. So
excellent.
I'll bring that up again at the end of the hour on the seminar. But yeah, if you hadn't been to one of my live seminars, give it some thought. I think you ought to. I think you'll get a lot out of it. It's going to be a good day. The weather's going to be good. Air conditioning works back there. That's great. And, it's not going to be that hot, but still, it's a nice big venue. So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So, what
and of course, for this morning, it's an interactive show. If someone wants to call in, 766-9393. Of course, it's a 931 number. And we are live on the internet around the world, so anybody anywhere that happens to tune in, we could take a phone call. 931-766-9393 if you'd like to talk to Stan this morning. Anything to do with wills, trust, estate planning, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, maybe someone from India call or something.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. I guess it would be if it's on the internet. It's anywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. And we have some listeners from out of town that do. That's right.
We talk about all kinds of different things here, and we don't really do. I don't really do it very structured. I mean, it's not that it's haphazard, but I mean, we kind of start with topics, and sometimes we get a call and we answer those questions. So it's kind of hit and miss, but I try to keep a general flow. But I wanted to talk about it. I like to talk about certain experiences we have.
Yeah, that's always good.
And I think I just started talking about this about 2 weeks ago or so, or 3 weeks when it first came up. But it had just come up. Well, we've had a chance to dig into it a little bit more. I have a client that showed up, and he was elderly and wanted to do a trust. Wants to do and he wants to do a trust, and he's got some property. He's got some out-of-state property. He's got some property here in Tennessee. And so, we take down the information for the deeds and all that. So, because we're going to draft, when you put property in trust, you got to draft a new deed that deeds it from how it's titled now to their trust, right? And that's what puts it in the trust, and that's what lets the trust control or protect it if it's creditor protection kind of thing. So anyway, so we get all the information. We sit down. My assistants gather up the deeds, and my assistant brought my attention and said, "Okay, this deed shows, which is called John Doe and Jane Doe, right? It says this deed shows that Jane Doe still and John Doe and Jane Doe are still on the deed as the last deed in time." So we looked to see if there wasn't something filed that we missed that was between then and there, and there wasn't. So I got back with the client, and they said, "Well, we had a divorce." Now, this divorce took place 38 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we had to go to the archives to dig it out. And so we looked at the deed, and sure enough, it says John Doe and Jane Doe as husband and wife own the property.
Yeah.
And he tells me they got divorced 38 years ago. So I thought, well, I know the way, and he really couldn't tell me what happened because he just couldn't remember. It's just been so long ago. And so I thought, well, if it's a divorce, there had to have been what we call an MDA, a marital dissolution agreement, where the court gives the final order of divorce. And a lot of times there's things in an MDA that the parties have to do by court order.
Oh, yeah.
And so we get it, and sure enough, it says in there that there was a certain amount of money that that John had to pay to Jane, and then when John paid that money to Jane, then Jane would sign over that deed.
Yeah.
So I started questioning them, and of course his memory was poor, and he couldn't remember much of anything, but neither of those things got done.
No, my.
Now, I think, you're supposed to do that, because that could be a real problem. That's contempt of court if you don't follow a court order.
Yeah.
But it was kind of mutual. It's kind of really what it was. It did sound like one thing had to happen first and then the other, but not remembering why it didn't happen, so I don't know really who's at fault, but it doesn't really matter at this point in time. I can't put this property in the trust without all the owner's permission, right? And you got a husband and wife that own the property.
Yes.
Been divorced for 38 years, and so we started down that path, and we talked to some of the children. The children said, "Yeah, we can talk to the ex-wife," and they did, and there was no problem because originally it was like, okay, as long as it's going in this trust for the kids, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah.
But then something changed while I was away over the week, and when I come back this week, I got news that, well, that person decided not to do it anymore, and they're going to put it in their own trust, the wife. To which I responded, well, that doesn't work either. You got the same problem we have. I can't put it in John's trust without Jane's permission, because they're both owners, right?
Yeah.
And you can't put it in Jane's trust without John's permission because they're both owners. So
Oh my gosh,
so instead
yeah,
of
that's
fighting
right.
over it, we need to just resolve this, I mean,
Yeah.
if we got to. So I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but it is a classic example of stuff that can pop up. I mean, I have to admit, I never saw that coming.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
So somebody says, yeah, I usually ask, are you single? Because the way we structure things, we do it a little different if you're single or if you're married.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I'm divorced, been divorced for almost 40 years. And so I didn't give it much of a thought. And I said, what kind of real estate do you have? And he said, oh, I got a property here, I got a property in this other state.
Yes.
I said, no problem, we'll put that in for you. And then we started getting into it, that's when it popped up. And now it's more than just a problem. I mean, we have to clean this up. We have to fix it. So, because when you own it as that way, you own it as right of survivorship.
That's right.
As husband and wife.
That's right.
And so, that's not exactly what they had in mind.
No, it's not.
And when we go back to the MDA, that's not what the court had in mind.
Right.
The court had in mind it ending up with John.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not able to determine out if John did what he was supposed to do, that then triggered Jane signing the deed.
Yeah.
But you know who I'm disappointed with? I mean, they're not sure what to do when you have a court order now, but I'm very disappointed with whoever their attorneys were at the time.
Yeah.
But you have a court order, and they usually say like within a certain number of days, and I think this one said within 60 days they would do this, make payment of this amount of money, and then the deed would be signed over.
Yeah.
And of course the 60 days came and went, but I'm very disappointed with their representation they had. They did not follow up on that. Now,
Yeah.
40 years later,
Yeah.
or should I say 40 freaking years later, we have got this wrinkle. This it's almost comical, but it's not going to be an easy thing to resolve because it has already started in hard feelings.
Yeah, if both of, and it can happen so quickly. They think everything's fine.
And when we first started talking about it, it was, Jane will be glad to do it, it's no problem. We still talk, and it's really not a problem. Well, it started out that way, but then I guess, I started thinking about it and said, wow, I actually own this property, I didn't know I owned it, I don't really want to give it away now.
Yeah.
So, but they're both in the same boat, that's one thing. Nobody's got any bargaining power here.
Yeah.
And you don't want to go and accuse each other of contempt of court at this late date. The court would have a field day with them.
I bet.
And if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to ask the court to drag in the attorneys too, because they had a responsibility to follow up on that. You don't sign the MDA and then just say, hey, do everything in here and thanks for hiring me, I'll see you later. But that's apparently what they did, at least with this issue. And it was, if I remember right, I didn't read all the court order, but there were quite a few other things that had to be done that have nothing to do with what I do. And it makes you wonder, maybe we need to go back and look and see if those were done too.
Nothing got done.
I mean, a court order is a serious thing. And when you're in contempt of it, a court will make an example of that because the court has to maintain its authority. If they just let stuff like that slide, they lose that authority.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal, and I don't recommend we go that route. We don't want to have to go that route, but we got to fix this.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Unless somebody's just willing to just completely throw in the towel on it, but neither party seems to be willing at this time. But hey, it just goes to show you the stuff that can happen, and you don't see coming. You don't know it's even out there. This has been that way for 40 years, and nobody's ever known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just doesn't pop up until you actually pull the deed to make a transfer. And you realize, okay, I got two owners here, and it takes all the owners to agree to transfer property.
No.
Even if you own 10% of the property, you are an owner. So anyway, we'll see how, I'll keep everybody posted on how that turns out. I think it'll be all right, and it's just a question of how much messing around we got to do. You know what I mean? It's just how much negotiating or stuff like that. So I'm actually not, I don't know that I'm actually going to get involved in that. I think I'm just going to tell them that you guys need to work it out. If you work it out, I'll put it in the trust. But I'm really not in the litigation thing anymore. I did that for many years and don't want to do it anymore. And
the sad thing is, of course, I've seen this happen, is people in a similar type position, not necessarily like this one, but similar, they both go get a lawyer. Yep. And here we go.
And I hope they don't get the same one. Because I just see that as a real problem. It's a real dropping the ball on the legal end, in my opinion. And there's no need for that. You pay somebody not to drop the ball, navigate the legalities of the situation.
Right.
Because they're supposed to have the expertise. And, and just looking back on it. Now, I have no clue what was going on at the time, but looking back on it, with that not getting done, is somebody's fault. So is it the layman's fault who may not know exactly how court orders work? Right. Or is the person you hired to advise them on what to do? I mean, I know how I see it. So, if it was just a layman doing it, you can cut them some slack because they just don't know. But the other people have no excuse. They either knew they either knew or should have known.
Yeah.
And they're held to that standard.
Yeah.
You can't, as an attorney, you can't say, "Well, I didn't know." That's not a defense. If you're an attorney and it's a legal matter, you should have known.
Yeah.
Whether you knew or not doesn't factor into it. So, if you do, you get away with anything.
Well, yeah.
So we're held to a pretty high fiduciary standard.
I talk to my son sometimes about, the phrase, "I didn't mean to."
Yeah. I did, but I didn't mean to.
I did, but I didn't mean to.
When you say that, the act has been done.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, or I didn't mean for anybody to get hurt.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's a terrible thing, You may not mean to, but you got to be more careful.
What I'd love to talk about, but it's probably not the forum and probably shouldn't, is, all the rhetoric on TV, everybody's talking about free speech. And it's clear to me that they don't understand what it is. It's, because free speech is not as simple as those words.
No.
But I don't think this is a good forum to get into it, so I won't.
Oh, I could help you with that.
I know. No, let's just do it for a few minutes. Okay?
Oh, I'm with you.
You know, when you start fundamentally, free speech is in our Constitution, right? And the prohibitions in the Constitution really deal with the federal government. So, you know, the federal government can never do anything to you for free speech, but that does not work that way in the private sector.
Yeah.
I mean, let me put it this way: you can say whatever you want, but if I'm, you know, I'm actually thinking about bringing on an extra person in the office. I need some help.
Yeah.
And you know, so we'll go through some interviews here. We're kind of targeting something between now and the first of the year.
Yeah.
So we'll interview people, stuff like that. Well, you know, if I interview somebody that wants to voice, I'm not going to say political, but wants to voice some opinion that they have.
Right.
And I mean, they're free to voice it all the time. They like to voice it.
Yeah.
If I'm not of the same opinion, it's perfectly within my rights to not hire them for that very reason.
Sure.
Because I am the face of Pierchoski state law, right?
Yeah.
And if I have somebody that's doing something that I think is either against my best interest or puts me in a bad light or puts the legal profession in a bad light, I'm gonna say, you can say this all you want, you just can't say it when you're working for me.
Yeah.
You know, or I have the ability. If you do say it when you're working for me, I have the ability to terminate you, because Tennessee and most states are an at-will employment state.
Right.
And the at-will says you can be fired for a good reason, a bad reason, or no reason at all.
Right.
And the only exception is things that offend public policy. And
Right.
those are your race, religion, or origin, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your free speech is free. I mean, you have a right to free speech, and there's even limits on that. You know, you can never say speech that is actionable.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have the right to free speech just like any other American, but I do not have the right to work at this radio station.
That's exactly right. So if we shouldn't be talking about this, maybe we're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, no, we can't. I'm just saying I don't have the right. I can't claim the right to work at this radio station.
And also, if you got fired for that, you can't claim the right that you were just exercising free speech.
Yeah, one has nothing to do with the other.
Exactly right.
So I mean, I could say, you know, and speak just like anybody else, whatever I want to say and do. But I also have to respect those that are listening and those that are my employers here. You know, they pay me a little bit to do this.
That's right.
Okay, so I work for the station.
Not to mention some of the FCC rules that exist.
Yeah, not to mention that. So I don't know. The idea is, I agree with you.
And free speech is far from absolute. You know, we have a cause of action called slander.
Yes.
Which is the spoken word. Libel is the written word.
Yeah.
Slander is the spoken word. I mean, so you could say what you want.
That's right.
But if you say something and it's slanderous, it's actionable. I mean, there's no defense to say, hey, I got the First Amendment right of free speech. I can say what I just said. Well, sorry, if it fits the definition of slander, which means you actually cause a damage, the words actually cause a damage, like George Stephanopoulos did when he actually said something that was untrue and it caused a damage. It is actionable.
Right.
But then, so they sort of feel like, well, I don't understand this. Free speech is in jeopardy in this country because I got sued because of something I said. It's not absolute. You know, there's always say the classic thing of you can't say things that incite people. The classic example is yell fire in a crowded theater. You know what I mean? When there isn't a fire.
Yeah.
It's not absolute because you can't do things that cause harm and damage. Now,
that's true.
The cause harm is a little fuzzier line that's drawn, but it is a line.
Yeah.
So, you got to understand it. Compare it to some of the stuff they see on the news when they talk about how they do it in England.
Yes.
In England, they got a real trampling on this concept. I mean, they say they have something like 10 or 15 arrests a day in England for people to put posts up that violate their speech rules.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have some stuff, which is surprising because this is where we derived the very concept in the first place.
Yeah.
And there's a new guy running for prime minister that's going to put the nix on that if he gets elected. And that, but hey, I've seen some examples of that. You know, there was a comedian that was saying some stuff. He's been arrested twice now.
Oh, okay.
You might have heard, I don't even know his name. He's a British comedian.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I heard the news on that.
And that spawned them to put some stuff on the news about how many times they arrest people for this. And they were showing what the actual rule was, and it's really sad. Now that is something that we don't do here.
That's right.
But again, you know, it's called hate speech. You're not allowed to do hate speech.
Yeah. Well, and of course, we can say anything we want to say in the idea of free speech, like you talked about. but you also don't have the right to demand anybody listen to you.
That's right. And of course, what you go back
Nobody has to listen.
Exactly.
You know.
That's exactly right. You got to go back to the fundamental concept. I mean, the free speech was not for hate speech. It was for the exchange of ideas.
That's exactly right.
Because when you have a group of people, let's say, like the Founding Fathers or, the Continental Congress, we do a play at the theater every now and then. I think we're going to do it next year for the 250th anniversary called 1776.
Oh, I love that.
It's about the signing of the Declaration.
I would love that.
And when you see the arguments and all that, you just come to the conclusion that these people, they're all prominent people. They all have good ideas. They're not stupid. They're very smart people. They just also have honest to goodness differences of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the way life is. If you got more than one person on planet Earth, you're going to have a difference of opinion somewhere.
That's exactly right.
So that exists, and that's the whole concept of this was the ability to not dictate what you should see and hear, but when talk about this of
Right.
free exchange and flow of ideas, debate. Because if you don't understand another person's position, the concept is you need to talk about it and understand it. Doesn't mean you may agree about it,
Right.
but you will understand their position. I mean, I get that. Now you take something like, a classic argument about, taxing or don't taxing. Like over in Giles County, the big hoodoo, they were trying to talk about putting this tax on or taking that tax off or doing something to gather revenue. We got
Right.
things that stuff needs to be spent on, and it turns into quite the debate because some people say no, we don't need to tax, we can get the money this way, and other people say no, there's no other way to get it than to tax it. So it's just these honest to goodness differences of opinion of how things should be done.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing. The concept of it is magnanimous. I mean, it's a good, very honorable, noble concept to encourage free speech and exchange. But when you get into hate speech, I mean, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't say anything. It has no knowledge value to it at all. It's just designed for
Right.
hate, and that doesn't encourage anything. So, and hate speech can cause damage. And if you cause damage, the damage is actionable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I agree.
And isn't it funny how when you have the right of free speech, if you get yanked in before the congressional committee, all of a sudden you don't want it.
What was it, comedian that he said they was being arrested and he said, they told me I had the right to remain silent, but I didn't have the ability.
Yeah, I've heard that. I think Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana said that a couple times. Just can't help myself. Anyway, let's see. We did a couple of 10-care applications this week. Now, not the approvals, but
Yeah.
I actually submitted the application.
Yeah.
So that pretty much gets 90% or more of the way on the process.
Yeah.
Now it kind of says, I remember telling the gentleman, I was in my office, we had signed, we created a few annuities and we had already rearranged the assets, got everything, got the personnel, got his wife eligible. And I remember saying to him, I said, this whole process, we call it hurry up and wait. Now, since the day you called me until today, we've been doing all kind of stuff. Let's get this done. Let's do it quickly because
Right.
we got to get a hold of this company like Vanguard or Fidelity. We got to get them to do something for us, and they take their time. And so we want to hurry up and get things going. We want to get this.
Right.
Bring this stuff to me, and we gather all this stuff because we're usually in this Medicare window where they're paying for it and we're not.
Right.
And it's even more critical if you're not in that Medicare window and you're paying for it. The faster the better. And so. And then when we signed these documents, I said, now comes the wait part. You're going to wonder what's wrong. Everything's just going to stop. And it'll be a month or two, a month and a half before a caseworker even gets assigned. And nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we have all this hurry up, and now all of a sudden it's going to stop. And you're going to call
Yeah.
me and say, hey, how comes everything's so quiet? Is everything okay?
Yeah.
So I'm conditioning for what's to come and saying, it's going to be low key here for a little while.
Yeah.
While they look at it. And they may have questions, but they'll ask me, not the individual.
Yeah.
So we'll see how those work out. They so far so good. Everything looks good.
Well, Teresa and I went through the same thing when we were dealing with her dad, going into the nursing home and that kind of thing. And there was all that information had to be gathered up and everything that we were trying to make the application that your office helped us with, you and your office. And there was, we're just like, hurry, we got to get this in, because, time was pressing. But then there was this waiting period, and we were like, well, is this going to happen or not?
And I don't know, the approvals used to come about 3 months.
Yeah,
Post-COVID, it seems to hover a little more around 4. I'm not sure why
Yeah.
that delay stays, but it just is the fact of things.
Yeah.
And they got certain time, they have 90 days to deal with it when you send it in. It's
Yeah.
something, so you gotta push them on that sometimes, because, and they never do anything until day 89. And it's almost just because they don't have to till then.
Yeah.
I don't get the concept. You got 90 days, let's wait 89 and then do this mad rush to get it done on the day 90. That's what lawyers do.
I thought that was just me. I'm the procrastinator.
I mean, that's what lawyers do. They say you got 2 weeks, don't do anything for 13 days. Then go crazy on the 14th day to get it done. I don't quite understand that concept, but that seems to be the way a lot of things get
See,
done.
I knew I was working toward my law degree.
There you go.
So there you go.
That's good. That's good. Hey, you got some of the prerequisites.
I got this patient thing or procrastination down. I got that part.
And you have to learn how to say certain things. I have a brother who's a dentist.
Yes.
He said, when you have a patient in the chair, you never say, this is gonna hurt.
No.
Which is the truth.
Yes.
So you wanna soften the truth a little bit.
Yes.
So they'll say, okay, this may be a little sensitive.
Yes. Yes. You're gonna feel a little pinch here.
Yeah,
You know.
a little sensitive doesn't mean you're gonna feel it screaming down in your toes, right?
Well, I just got a message there that we're being listened to. Yeah, and we appreciate that. My grandson and daughter are listening, so I'll say good morning to Shepard.
Did you have a question, Shepard?
Well, Shepard probably could come up with some questions.
Okay, how old is Shepard?
Shepard is, he will be 8 in the coming month, I think.
So he probably could come up with a question.
Yeah, well, November actually, I should say. Well, Shepard, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good deal.
Well, I mean, if he's 8 years old, he's listening to a program like this. I mean, wow. Maybe we ought to tell him to get a life. This is for us folks.
He needs he's a little young for a trust yet, I guess, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, but anyway. Well, someone wants to talk to us. One of our regulars wants to talk with us this morning. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Pierchoski, this might be before your time.
The Wills of the Rich and Famous.
I'd say right now, I don't know that I actually read the book, but I have collected a lot of the wills of the rich and famous, and we post them on our website. And I'm always interested in that,
Yeah.
But and some of them are pretty entertaining.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Peggy. Very good. Yeah. You need to be real careful on how you deed your property.
That's right. I mean, now it may what the scenario she's talking about, it may be what you want to do. You know what I mean? So it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. What doesn't mean doing it by itself is bad. So you got to play it out to see what the result of that is to determine whether that's what you want to do. And when people do that, they say, "I'm going to buy this house. I'm going to pay for it, but I'm going to put it in my parents' name."
Right.
My first question would be, okay, what problem is it we're trying to solve, or what is it we're trying to avoid? Why are we doing it that? Because the norm is the person paying for it is going to be the person owning it. And so, why are we doing that? Because that's usually where we get off the rails a little bit. So, problem is, when you deed it to the parents, whether they pay for it or not, it belongs to the parents. It's
Right.
their property.
Right.
Okay? Now, you can go in court all day long and scream, "I'm paying the note," but
Yeah.
you're not going to get anywhere on ownership. Because the bank doesn't care who pays the note off. It often is other people. you know.
Well,
So,
the controlling document on that property is the deed.
is the deed, that's right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, there might be a cause of action if you are paying for it. In other words, you might be able to get reimbursed on a cause of action if there was some sort of agreement and they're not
Right.
abiding by it, but that's all you can do is get reimbursed. The owner is still with the parents. The deed reflects the ownership, and the ownership is the parents. Now, let's play this out. As the parents get older, if they just need long-term care, that's an asset they gotta deal with, right?
Right.
Because it's theirs.
Right.
If it was the child's asset, it wouldn't be something they have to deal with. Because you know, when you go dealing with long-term care, we're only worried about what you own. And now, if it was, that could also be looked at as a gift,
Right.
because they didn't part with anything for it, right? So
Right.
the house could be looked at as a gift. And if you want to go on to after death, that's an asset that they have after death. And so if they have wills, they say where that goes. Now, it might go back to the person that bought it, but it might not.
Yeah.
It's gonna go where the will says it goes, and that could or could not be what you have in mind. So really, that's what happens when you do it, but whether or not it's a good idea or not, I almost need to know why they put it in the parent's name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did recently, well, here's a good example. Not too long ago, somebody was in my office talking to me, and they had a piece of property, and the mother gave it to the daughter.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, 2011, you know,
Yeah.
definitely 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And the daughter was in care.
Yes.
Okay, and so when we're talking, and you know, we talk about this 5-year rule at the seminar, and I talk about it just all the time. You know, but it's so misunderstood, because during the conversation, the concept was, well, I gave it to her and it was well over 5 years ago. And it's like, you know, but let's look at this, you're not looking at this right. When you give stuff away, it's the applicant trying to qualify that needs to give it away before 5 years.
Yeah.
You gave it to the person who's in care. That's an asset that they have now because you gave it to them. And
Yeah.
it's an asset causing them to, because it was what we call other real estate. It was not the primary residence.
Yes.
And it's an accountable asset. Now it's cumbersome for them. Now, did they think about that 10 years ago? I think kind of, because they made reference to the fact that that's why we deeded it to them then, that we wanted to get it out of this 5 years rule. And it's the exact opposite direction to cause any help. Now, if mom, the person giving it away, was headed for care, yeah, then that's a strategy we might want to use to
Right.
get the property out of the applicant person. But you've given it to the applicant.
Right.
So the applicant now has it. Now, the first thing you come up, well, we just put it back in my name? Well, I think you can see the problem with that, because when they deeded it to her back in 2011, she owned it,
Yeah.
because the deed says she owns it, right? So she puts it back in mom's name. What is that? That's a gift. That she's going to just deed it to her mother, and that's going to be considered a divestment. She's giving up her ownership and not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
And that's going to, now that starts a 5-year clock for her.
Starts
So-
another
so,
clock. Yeah.
You know, they got these rules, and people post things on the internet about this 5-year rule and the $2,000 that you have to have, and it's all wrong. And people,
Yeah.
and what really is sad is some people actually act on what they read on the internet.
Yeah.
You know, back when I was a kid, you used to say, if it's in print, it's got to be true. When I was a kid, you had a newspaper, you had magazines,
Right.
and that's essentially what was in print. And it wasn't true back then. It may be more true back then, because then you had people that wrote newspapers and magazines, relatively responsible
Yeah.
to get true stuff out there.
Yeah.
But it's even worse now. I mean, anybody and their brother can post anything on the internet.
And they do.
It doesn't make it true. You still have to do your own due diligence. Some things that will have a reliable source, it's, you know, a different story. And I use it too. I mean, if I'm working on my car, and I used to love to work on vehicles. I don't love it as much, but I still do it if it's not too taxing of a job.
Yeah.
And it's something I can't do, or more like if it's a car. And I know what I got to do, but I can't hardly see the part. I can't get to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll search YouTube and inevitably somebody's done the same thing, and they usually have a little trick on how to get to it without filleting the car to get to where you're going. You know, there's maybe one or two things you can move out of the way, and then you can do it.
Right.
And that's just some guy putting it on. But they do it and they show it, and it seems like a good way to do it. It seems like it's knowledgeable, but there's so much stuff out there on this very issue that's just not correct.
Yeah.
It is misleading at least. It's absolutely wrong at most.
Yeah.
And so, and then people act on that, and that kind of scares me sometimes. But I mean, I wish they wouldn't act, I wish they would at least seek out some advice
Yeah.
on me or somebody like me that can answer those questions.
Absolutely.
Because those things are so misunderstood. Another example, like just, you're in the real estate rule, and that's one of the big assets we deal with all the time with people. And I had a gentleman one time say, boy, my wife and I want to sell our home. I said, we want to sell it, but man, we're so worried about that 5-year rule, because they were kind of advanced in years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, here again, it's like, well, you can sell it. The 5-year rule only works for one thing, and that's giving stuff away, or what we call divestments.
Yeah.
I use the word gift because it implies giving something without getting it in return.
Right.
And that's a divestment. And he said, we want to sell our home, but I'm worried about that 5-year rule. I said, sell it. I mean, your financial position doesn't change one iota.
Yeah.
If you have a $500,000 house and you sell it, what do you end up with? $500,000 check, right?
Yeah.
And so your
So you either have the asset in real estate or you have the asset in money.
your asset is an asset that has value. Your financial
Yeah.
position has not changed one iota. You still have a $500,000 asset that's a concern towards your eligibility if you're
Right.
going to long-term care. It
Yeah.
haven't changed anything. It just changed the posture of the asset from
Yeah.
real estate to money.
Yeah.
It's still an asset and it still has a $500,000 value.
Yeah.
So sell it, buy another one, do whatever you want. Yeah, that doesn't, it only applies to giving stuff away.
Yeah.
And that comes from the root cause and the root theory that people will think, well, if long-term care is going to get everything, I'm just going to give it away.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from,
And
because
that's-
that's what people think to do.
And that is the concern. And just to kind of review that what this show's been all about and what you've been, your career is all about is helping people preserve their assets for their heirs. And if we happen to face going to long-term care, we've seen it happen. We've heard horror stories. That they're going to take your house, they're going to get all your money, and everything's going to. And what you are preaching and teaching is there are ways to avoid that.
Yeah, that's correct. Because let's think about it. If you have a document like a will,
Yes.
it's a testamentary document. That's what last will and testament means. It comes to play. It comes into effect. It comes into being a legal document at death, at the
Yeah.
moment of death.
Yes.
And it becomes irrevocable because nobody can change your will after you pass away. You can change it anytime you want while you're alive, but
Yeah.
once the moment of death arrives, then it is now a legal document. Now, suppose in your will you say, let's keep it simple. I got 3 kids, and I say everything I own goes to my 3 kids in equal shares.
Yes.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
A legal question arises. Doesn't that presuppose? When I say presuppose, it means assume, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that assume that I have all my stuff at death
Yes.
to give to the 3 kids?
Right.
I mean,
That's what it
if I
says.
say I leave everything on to the kids, when I write it, I have in mind that I've got my house, I got my acreage,
Yeah.
I've got my money in the bank, I've got something buried in the backyard. I mean, it can be whatever I have, I'm leaving to them, right? And so I'm only saying that because if I was completely indigent, I don't know that I would say that because I don't have anything to give, right?
Right.
So the problem that comes up is what could happen during life? Because remember, this can't happen till death. So if I own a bunch of stuff when I write this will, is there something that could happen during my lifetime or before the moment of death when this thing applies that could exhaust my estate?
Yeah.
Enter long-term care is the biggest creditor anybody will ever face. It's right now it's $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
It's going to go up. I mean,
Unbelievable.
It's went up 3 times in 2024 alone.
Yeah.
So it's just going to go up. And yes, there's some things. I mean, there's other things, but nobody really worries about them, and they're not very common. You could get sued over something and get a vast judgment against you that cleans you out.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But that's very rare. What
Yeah.
people are worried about is long-term care, because you add on to that now. People 65 years or older. Now this is, if you don't believe this statistic, and you don't want to believe me, Google it, you'll get the same answer. 70% of people 65 years or older will require some form of long-term care. Now,
Yeah.
when I say some form of long-term care, nursing home is not the only form of long-term care.
Right.
There's also assisted living or some of the home and community-based waiver programs.
Yes.
Okay? But it's a form of long-term care.
Yeah.
And that means more than half of us.
Yeah.
So prudence demands you give that a little more thought. If it's more than half, it means it's more likely than not.
Yeah.
I don't think you're 65 yet, but I am.
I'm getting close.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the statistic, 65 or older. And so if the deck is stacked against us like that, I mean, prudence demands we do something to put ourselves in a better financial position if that happens, right? Then the second statistic that you can find that it really should keep you up in the middle of the night, and that is 7 out of 10 people that go into long-term care will become impoverished within 1 year, 12 months. They're broke.
Oh, wow.
So, and we see that happen a lot. People say, oh, you gotta spend down, you got too much money. You just keep spending on the cost of care until it's gone, then you'll be eligible for TennCare. That is a gross misunderstanding of how it works. Now, that is a way to do it.
Yes.
Not a smart way, in my opinion, but it is a way to do it. I mean, there's all kind of ways to do things. You can get the end result. You can get eligible. You know what I mean? I mean, you can.
Well, the bottom line is you don't qualify for TennCare assistance to pay for your long-term care if you have any kind of assets or funds to pay for it. And so they take it.
It's private pay now.
So it's private pay. So they exhaust all that, and then then and only then is TennCare going to take care of it.
Well, the TennCare will take care of you if you satisfy certain things. One, you got to be medically needy, right?
Yeah.
2, your income has to be below a certain cap.
Yeah.
And 3, your resources have to be below a certain number, which is $2,000 of countable assets. That's the only resource they're worried about.
Right.
And so, but that is misunderstood and thought to mean $2,000 to your name.
Yeah.
That's not $2,000 to your name, it's $2,000 of countable assets.
Countable assets.
Now, and I often say this, and I don't know if it's a good example or not, I think it is, but maybe you can let me know.
Okay.
When you read $2,000 of countable assets, and you read it, and if you're thinking of that, and what a lot of people that say it on the internet just say $2,000. They don't use the qualifying term that's in the statute, which is countable assets. So, when you think about it, can you really think of anybody, could you point anybody to me that doesn't have $2,000
Not me.
in 2025?
Yeah.
I mean, I often say, every now and then I see out my office, I see somebody rooting to my garbage can to pick up the cans, and
Yeah.
I mean, people of lesser means. So, those people may have as much as $2,000 because $2,000 is really not a lot amount of money.
Well, your average working family,
Yeah, I mean,
that has a job and is responsible, they're going to have.
they're going to have more than that. I mean, and so the question, think of it this way: if that's what it takes to get into the nursing home,
Right.
when you go to the nursing, now let's shift gears a little bit. Go to the nursing home; they're full. Go to the next one; it's full. There's all kind of people in these nursing homes. If people getting in, sometimes you got to wait for a bed, right?
That's right.
So, where are these indigent people with less than $2,000 coming from? How are they getting in?
Yeah.
Well, they're getting in because they establish that status of less than $2,000 of countable assets by some various means, okay? Now, one of the means you can do that is just check yourself in, be private pay, and keep paying until you've got nothing left and you're below $2,000.
Right.
Now you're eligible, but that's all you have, okay?
Yeah.
And so you are completely broke, indigent, because you have exhausted everything on the cost of care. And now that's a way. There's many ways to get to a goal. That is one. Now I don't think it's a good one because most people want to save what they've earned all their life and keep it in the family.
That's right.
And that way does not do that.
That's right.
Now if you're listening to me right now and saying that sounds like a grand way for me to do it, I'm just going to do it. Well, I mean, there's nothing stopping you.
Yeah.
Do it. I don't. 99%, if not more, of people want to preserve what they have. They don't want to spend it all on the cost of care.
Yeah.
They want to pass it to a subsequent generation, their kids, their heirs, like you said,
Yeah.
or whoever. But you work all your life for it. You want to at least have it,
Yeah.
so you can spend it for something or enhance your quality of life. Even if you go to the nursing home, you can enhance your quality of life if you've got the wherewithal to do it.
Right.
And so, so that's a way to get there. It's just one way, and I think it's way down the list as far as favorable ways.
Right.
There are other ways to do it and preserve all that stuff. Because, I often say it this way. If you want to think like an attorney sometimes, if somebody says you need $2,000 of countable assets, maybe the question should pop into your head that says, well, let me ask this question. If there's countable assets, are there non-countable assets? The answer is yes. Okay, well, if I have to have $2,000 of countable assets to be eligible,
Right.
could I have $2,000 of countable assets and $10,000 of non-countable assets and still get eligible? And the answer is absolutely. Okay, could I have $2,000 of countable assets and $500,000 of non-countable assets? And the answer is absolutely, because the countable assets are the only assets that enter into the equation. So countable and non-countable, they're two different categories of asset. And so you can put, I often say, I think my record was 2.8 million of non-countable assets, and still got the person eligible for TennCare. I mean, and I don't make this up. I'm not doing something I'm not supposed to do. I mean, this is all written into the TennCare Act and the Medicaid Act and all the bills like the Catastrophic Illness Act and the Deficit Reduction Act. added things that we can do or taken away things that we can do. And this is all part of this is all things that are available to you.
Right.
And I'd probably say this, if you listen to me every Friday, you've heard me say this before, and that is, you hear people talk about the term spend down.
Yeah.
Now, the average street vernacular definition of spend down would be what? What would you say? If I said, you need to spend down your money.
Well, I'd say you're telling me to get rid of my money.
Spend it.
Spend it.
Go have a spree or something. Go buy stuff.
Go buy stuff.
Go do it. Well, spend down doesn't mean that. It's a legal term. And if you look at it, it's actually in the Medicaid Act and the TennCare Act. And if you look up its definition, it means to recategorize your property, restructure things, which is exactly what we're talking about doing. So suppose you have a countable asset. You got money in the bank. So you got $20,000 in the bank. That's a countable asset, because a good way to understand what's countable and what's not is a countable asset, substitute the word available for the cost of care asset.
Right.
And if you have $20,000 in the bank that you can walk in and say, hey, can I get $50 out of here? And they say, sure. And they give it to you, right?
Right.
Or you can write a check on it or something. That's countable because it's available to you to pay for the cost of care.
Right.
Suppose we have a non-countable asset. Now it's not available to you for the cost of care. So how do we do that? Real simple example. We may take that $20,000 that's countable and go buy a Medicaid compliant annuity with it. And if I'm the one going to the nursing home, I'm going to make it pay to my wife.
Yeah.
Now, I've just taken a countable asset and turned it into a non-countable stream of income. So when they say, Stan, what do you own? I want to see if you're eligible. I want to see what are all your resources to see if you're under $2,000. That $20,000 doesn't enter the equation because it's not a countable asset.
Right.
That's what we do in a nutshell. And it's just to restructure the property. Then when we restructure it, now we actually get you to a point where you have less than $2,000 of countable assets.
Yeah.
But you've got $1 million of non-countable assets, or 500,000, or whatever your wealth is, right?
Right.
You have that we've changed its category, its status to non-countable. Now we file the application because now you're eligible. And TennCare knows that. Sometimes they call and say, hey, they ask for bank records for they can ask up to 5 years. They don't typically do that unless there's a reason, but it's not often for them to look at 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And of course, most of the stuff we do, we have just done to get them eligible.
Sure. Sure.
So, here's a good example. We just did yesterday. The guy came in. We had it was an IRA we were dealing with. We converted it we were rolling it over into a Medicaid compliant annuity, and he bought it. It's called a single premium immediate annuity, which means premium's one shot. You don't pay a monthly premium, and it starts paying back immediately. So he bought it yesterday. It's going to start paying back October.
Right.
And so now the question is, he doesn't have that money anymore. Why? He spent it on the annuity. And the annuity is a stream of income. To himself, in this case, because he's married and he's trying to get the wife eligible, right? But as the money he had before is available for the wife's cost of care, even though it's his asset, right? When you're getting eligible with a husband and wife, there is no mine or yours; it's all ours at the beginning, and so that's available for her cost of care. So we had to convert it. So we converted it into annuity that's going to pay him, and I think we picked about 4 years, 5 years for it to pay back. And so he gets it all back.
Right.
But when we apply for the wife, it's like, and then maybe they'll ask. They say they look at bank records and say, I see where you took, $100,000 out of this bank account. What happened to it?
Yeah.
I mean, because the way I'm looking at it, it was in a joint bank account, which means that should be available for the wife's cost of care. So what happened to it? The reason they ask is they want to know, they think he gave it away.
Right.
And if you say, well, I gave it to my kid, they're going to say, okay, that's a divestment. We're imposing a penalty period, on and on. But when they call and say, what happened to that $100,000? I'll say, I'm glad you asked. Let me explain. Let me tell you exactly what we did with it. Took that money, we bought a Medicaid compliant annuity, and we purchased the annuity with it. And it's paying to the owner of it.
Yep. Is that the call you needed?
It is, but I just need a second, okay?
Okay. Yeah, go right ahead. Right ahead. Folks, we're listening and talking with Stan Pierchoski. And Stan, of course, is here on Friday mornings for Bulletproof Estate Planning. And I've learned a lot listening to Stan. I really, really have. In fact, helped us through a period when we had to deal with Teresa's father and his assets, and helped save a lot of his assets for us, and we could certainly highly recommend that. Of course, tomorrow is seminar day here at the station.
That's right.
And, at the studios, and you don't want to miss that, to be here at 10 o'clock if you want to be a participant in that. I was able to cover just a couple of minutes. How
You
about
did.
that?
I want to apologize for that. I had a call.
And
that
you
I
knew
made-
it was coming.
That I made yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an important call. They made it back, and I was in the middle of a signing.
Yeah.
So I called when I was done with that, and I
Yeah.
got the voicemail on the other end, okay?
Yeah,
And that
okay.
happened another time
Yeah.
after that. And I remember when I usually leave my phone in the truck when I come in to do the show, and I thought, as luck would have it, the call will come in the next hour.
Yeah.
Right? And I really, really wanted to at least say, hey, I'm in the middle of this radio station, will you be available in 15 minutes when I'm done?
Yeah.
And that's all I just said, and they said,
Yeah.
yeah, call me back, I'll be here.
Good
And
deal.
so I'm afraid if they get the voicemail, then they don't try or would leave for the day, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I apologize for that, because
No worries.
I have never done that before, but
No worries.
we talked about it very briefly before we went on the air, and thank you for doing that.
No worries at all. We got it handled.
But you know, Murphy's Law, right?
Yeah.
I'm available all day on Friday, and the 1 hour that I probably couldn't take the call is when it came in just about 5 more minutes, and I
Yeah.
would have been able to take it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we are getting toward the end, and thank you for covering for me. And you know,
No worries.
What we talked about today was it's just stuff that we do. I mean, this concept of estate planning and getting, estate planning, it certainly encompasses eligibility for
Sure,
TennCare.
sure.
And there's a lot of rules and stuff. So I don't recommend a do-it-yourself in this area. And I'm actually doing one of my other shows. I'm going through the TennCare application and pointing out the incredible ambiguity on every paragraph in this 16-page document. It's it's almost like once we go through all that, the question is, do you really want to fill this out yourself? Because
Yeah.
then you have to sign it under penalty of perjury, and it's like, I don't know if I'm perjuring myself or not. I don't understand anything in it.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of so we're going through that. But again, this is just what we do, and there's a lot to it sometimes. There's a lot to it. And so, but we've been through it. We have experience with it. We I like to think we know what we're doing. So far, so good. We've been pretty successful. So
Yeah.
But in the last couple of minutes, let's just review that. And you may have just said so, but I got the seminar tomorrow.
That's right. You do.
And we do this about every other month. And I do that because, well, I just don't have time to do them every month like I used to. And it might encourage you to come to it because I know my marketing team and the people that deal with me are putting a lot of pressure on me about our costs. And so I'm saying if anything changes, I'm going to hold off till the first of the year.
Okay.
But I'm afraid there is going to be some changes. So, it might be a good incentive to, if you've been putting it off, might be a good incentive to come to that now and maybe get something started before that happens. I'm not sure exactly what all that's going to look like, but pretty confident there's going to be something changes as far as cost goes.
Yeah. Well, of course, I've had the benefit of getting to visit with you on Fridays, along with our our audience. But it's a little bit different in the seminar. I suppose there's a little more details, and you might want to talk about that just a second, because I've been wanting to come, but it seems like you always have it when I have an auction I have to do.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also you'll have heard everything I talk about because
Yeah.
we do this every week.
We do it every
for
week.
a little more than 2.5 years now.
Right.
But we do talk about stuff, but it is only an hour and so, hour and 10 long minute presentation, so I can't get into the weeds on all this stuff.
Right.
But I do throw out the options and the basics, the kind of the 30,000 foot view of it. But it's enough for most people to decide whether it's something they want to learn more about. And that's kind of what the process. So, but it's a fun. I get really good reviews on it. And
Yeah.
people come and tell me afterward that it was a lot of good information. They got lots to think about, and that's what it's all designed for. So
Yeah. I can't imagine hearing you for just any length of time and not thinking that you really need to look more into this. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's right. That's right.
And that's what this is
This is
about.
not a teach you how to do it
Yes.
seminar. This is teach you what the options are, because some people have never heard some of these options.
Right.
And when you hear the options, it helps you make a better decision.
Absolutely.
So I think you may have said it, but tomorrow, 10 o'clock,
Yes.
back of the building, Will's Trust and Nursing Home. If you can't RSVP, just pop in. It'll be all right.
Yep. And of course, how to contact you?
Yeah, Pierchoski Estate Law, Pierchoski Elder Law is 931-363-7222. Or you can go to my website, which is estateplanstand.com, and yeah, I think you can even RSVP that way, I believe, but
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that's all magic sometimes. Isn't
Stan
it?
Pierchoski, everybody. Pierchoski Estate Law, located in Pulaski, Tennessee, there on the historic Pulaski Square.
That's right.
Next to the Star Theater. There's always something good going on there.
Actually, in the seconds I have, real quickly, Steel Magnolias opens tonight.
Oh, really?
Yes, this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday matinee, so 7 o'clock in the evening
Yeah.
and 2 o'clock on Sunday, and then again next weekend.
All right,
So
well-
you can call my office about
All right. And that's 363 722.
363-7222.
Thank you, Stan. We'll see you next week.
Always a pleasure. I think he said we have about 45 seconds left, so I could tell you we're hustling, so. All right, thank you for doing that. That was just, it's actually a